Hi everyone, it's Spurs Rail 96 here. Welcome to another Train Sim World news video. Today, Skyhook and Dovetail Games have revealed more details of the next piece of content coming to the game. And that DLC in question is another version or volume of the Cargo Line Freight series that Skyhook like to do. This one, number 5, focuses on nuclear and is arriving on November the 18th, 2025 for all platforms. Unfortunately, it is at quite a steep price, but that's just my view. It's £12.99, so quite expensive. That's normal Loco add-on price for, well, new Loco add-ons. So, this is actually more expensive than any of the previous Cargo Line volume freight packs before. So it's a little bit disappointing that it's got up in price. But let's take a look at the details and see if it's worth that price. So, nuclear trains, what are they? This gameplay add-on basically simulates the movement of radioactive nuclear material on the British rail network. The role of these trains is to simply carry nuclear flasks between power stations and processing centres across the UK in the safest way possible. This important task has made them a popular and rare catch for enthusiasts, and despite the reduction in nuclear power plants since the millennium, the trains are still seen in use to this day. Now, due to the volatile nature of their cargo, nuclear trains are operated with multiple locomotives at once, such as the BR Class 20-3, which is coming with this pack. They were one such type of locomotive assigned to the role, bookending the wagons between locomotives, protects them from any direct impact, and additional diesel engines added contingency in case of a failure. Wherever possible, the nuclear train must remain moving and is given a high priority across the network. Now, a bit of information about the BR Class 20-3 locomotive. We have had a Class 20 in the game before. Nearly 6 years ago, it appeared as a loco add-on for the Tees Valley line, but that version of the 20 was set in the late 1980s/early 1990s. This BR Class 20-3 introduces a new version, new variant, circa the year 2000. They were developed in the 1950s as the English Electric Type 1, and it was the first major step towards dieselisation. Now, despite being some of the oldest diesels around, the Class 20s have remained in operational use to this day and have survived into preservation, making them a frequent sight not only on the main British rail network, but on heritage railways too. A number of Class 20s were once used in operations in France and used to construct the High Speed 1 line in the southeast of England. They have also been used to operate some railhead treatment trains, which unfortunately you can't sub in the Class 20-3 into any of the existing railhead treatment train services, which there are quite a few on a number of routes actually. So that's a bit disappointing, but I suppose if you could use the formation designer or that free roam mode, you can kind of replicate a railway treatment train with a Class 20-3 at the helm. So, but that's a bit disappointing. It would have been nice to have seen them, substituted into the existing railway treatment train services. It would give it a lot more routes and services to do. In terms of the nuclear operations and modernization itself, they were created as a wholly owned subsidiary of British Nuclear Fuels Limited during late 1994. DRS, or Direct Rail Services, had the sole purpose of taking over rail-based handling of nuclear material from British Rail. Initially operating from the reprocessing plant at Sellafield, DRS opened a dedicated depot at Carlisle Kingmore Yard in 1998 to cater for its new fleet of 15 X-Channel Tunnel Works Class 20 locomotives. DRS eventually operated a fleet of 21 examples of the English Electric Type 1s, being significantly upgraded by brush traction of Loughborough with long-range fuel tanks, group standard headlight clusters, high-impact windscreens, and a complete cab rebuild, before outshopping them in iconic Oxford blue livery with fully yellow ends and red buffer beams. Unfortunately, the DRS logo is not included for whatever reason. Maybe there's a licensing issue there, I'm not really sure. I swear the DRS logo has been featured before on, I think, River Games' Class 66 packs, so it's a bit disappointing that the DRS logo cannot appear on the Class 20-3. Um, so it does include some changes to the exterior and interior, such as WI-PAC headlights, modernised cab including NRN and GSMR equipment, a non-functional nuclear panic button, and removal of the head code discs. Now, sandwiched between the pair of the Class 20 is a new wagon coming to Trainsim World, which is the FNA/D Nuclear Flask wagon. The original fleet of FNA wagons were built by British Rail and later Procar for the transport of spent nuclear fuel from power stations to processing and research facilities. These wagons came into service in the 1970s and became a rather common part of the British Rail network, performing these important duties. In the 2010s, it was identified that replacements were required, and the Nuclear Decommissioning Authority commissioned W.H. Davis to produce 40 new wagons as a like-for-like replacement for the original FNAs. The new batch featured several major updates, including exposed framing, different bogies, and the ability to carry a wider range of flask designs. Despite the reduction in nuclear power plants in the United Kingdom, the FNA/Ds can still be seen across much of the United Kingdom. Now, let's focus on the gameplay. What can you do with this new wagons and newish Class 20 locomotive, Dash 3 locomotive? So, it adds nuclear services and scenarios to 2 routes, which is the West Coast Main Line, Preston to Carlisle, unusually, despite the Class 20 being, based on the year 2000. So for this route, you will be able to operate 14 timetabled services and have 3 scenarios to play with. These will represent trains running out of the Sellafield nuclear site, with the in-game services running between Carnforth and Preston, and Carnforth to Carlisle, as well as Morecambe to Preston and Morecambe to Carnforth, originating off the map at Heysham Harbour. Because this route is set in 1986, the Class 20-3 doesn't appear at all. These services and the scenarios are operated by BR Class 47 locomotives that feature on the route add-on, with formations including Mark 1 BG coaches either side of the FNA/D nuclear wagons. So a big chunk of this DLC, you're not going to use the Class 20-3 locomotive, which is, it's not bad as such, because I like the West Coast Main Line Preston to Carlisle. It's arguably the best route in the game, but to base a big chunk of this DLC on that route is a little bit strange, considering, like I said, the locomotive is based on the year 2000. But the other route you can use the Class 20-3 on is the West Coast Main Line South, London Euston to Milton Keynes. Unfortunately, this only has 2 scenarios and just 4 timetable services. So if you don't have the West Coast Main Line Preston to Carlisle route, all you're going to be using is the Class 20-3 on this route with 4 services and 2 scenarios. That's not really good. But on the route, these represent trains running out of these scenarios and services on the West Coast Main Line South. These will represent trains running out of Sellafield and Dungeness nuclear sites, with in-game services running between Willesden Junction and Milton Keynes Central, as well as services starting and ending at Bletchley and Willesden Brent sidings. Now, prior to the release of Trainsim World, there was some planned nuclear train services for the Riviera line that one of River Games' staff members implemented into the Riviera line timetable. If you have the BR Class 86-2 and the, I think it's the Edinburgh Engineering Express Class 66 pack, you will be able to operate nuclear services on the Riviera line. But again, it's without the BR Class 20-3, you're using a 66 instead. So, that concludes this news video. I've got to say, the gameplay is a bit strange and a bit disappointing. Like I said, if you don't have the Preston to Carlisle route, you're only going to be using this on 4 services, the Class 20-3, and just 2 scenarios. If you have, of course, the Preston to Carlisle route, you're going to get a bit more out of the product, particularly the nuclear flask wagons. That's really what it's all about, isn't it? But yeah, I'm a bit disappointed. I can't lie. For its price, this is nowhere near worth £12.99. I feel like they could have extracted more gameplay out of this pack, particularly for the Class 20-3. Yeah, as much as I like the Class 20-3, and the model looks great for wagons, the locomotive, the interior, the exterior, it lacks for me the depth gameplay wise. It's just not right. It's just not enough for me. So yeah, it's a bit disappointing, I have to say. But the model does look good, and the nuclear wagons, at least you're going to get use out of them. So at least that is something. But is it worth full price? No, I'd say pick this up on a discount. So there we are, that concludes this news video. If you enjoyed it, feel free to hit the thumbs up button below, and if you are watching for the first time, I'd appreciate it if you would consider subscribing to the channel. And as always, I will see you next time. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.